Welcome to this explainer. We are jumping right into the incredibly profound wisdom of the Bhagavad Gita today, specifically focusing our attention on chapter 14, verses 1 through 4. We're going to be exploring something absolutely remarkable: how to take your life, which might honestly feel like a constant struggle sometimes, and completely transform it into an absolute entertainment. We'll be using these exact verses to uncover a perspective that literally guarantees non-diminishing happiness and undisturbed peace.
Okay, here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the goal of joyful living, look at three perspectives of one truth, uncover the parents of creation, tackle the hurdle of the mind, and finally, learn how to dominate the three elements.
Section 1. The goal of joyful living. Before we map out the exact path, we really need to understand the ultimate destination described right out of the gate in these opening verses. And I have to say, the promise here is absolutely massive. It's not just offering a slight upgrade to your daily routine, it is offering total liberation. By anchoring yourself in this specific knowledge, you actually bypass the entire cycle of creation and dissolution. You achieve a state of everlasting security. Now that's a seriously bold claim, right? But the text backs it up perfectly by explaining exactly how our internal perspective literally creates our external reality.
So it boils down to an everyday choice we all face. On one side, we've got life as a struggle. This happens the moment we forget our real nature. We start identifying heavily, and I mean heavily, with our physical body and our ego, running around trying to claim the world's properties as our very own. But then on the flip side, we have life as an entertainment. This huge shift happens the second we truly know I am Brahman. When we remember our true nature and just surrender that completely fabricated ego, the crushing weight of the world just vanishes. Life literally transforms into a joyful entertainment.
Section 2. Three perspectives, one truth.
To actually reach that peak state of joyful living, the text brilliantly accommodates different types of seekers across its different sections. For instance, chapters 1 through 6 focus intensely on the internal perception of I am the Atman. This uses the path of action and dedication to unlock self-knowledge. Then, chapters 7 through 12 shift our gaze outward, teaching that Brahman is changeless. This leans on the path of devotion to reach the knowledge of God. Finally, chapters 13 through 18 bring the whole thing together into one profound realization: Atman is Brahman. This is the path of pure knowledge, targeting the ultimate breakthrough of you are that. These are three entirely different vantage points, three different approaches, but they all converge on the exact same state of joyful living.
What's truly fascinating here is how these seemingly opposing paths completely harmonize. Whether you lean heavily into your own free will or you practice total surrender to grace, those are just two different ways of describing the exact same underlying concept. You can search the entire external world for its creator, or you can sit quietly in a room and internally ask, who am I? Both of those pursuits are going to crash into the exact same realization about yourself, the world, and Brahman. The ultimate destination, literally the absolute only goal of life for all of us, is this unified, joyful living.
Section 3. The parents of creation. Now, if this truth is so incredibly singular and the paths are laid out so perfectly, we really have to ask the obvious question: why isn't everybody living joyfully? Why are most of us still stuck on the struggle side of things? Well, the text answers this by breaking down the mechanics of our very existence. It introduces illusion as the maternal force, the mother of creation. Now, this mother is a constantly shifting, changing entity, and she is made up of three very specific elements: aura, energy, and matter. But here is the absolute key. This illusion, even though she gives birth to the universe, has zero independent existence. She depends entirely on Brahman to exist at all.
In total contrast to that, we have Brahman, the seed-giving father. Unlike the constantly changing mother, Brahman is completely changeless. No attributes, entirely independent, and its fundamental nature is pure, eternal, joyful consciousness. So Brahman essentially enlivens the mother, illusion, and from the union of these two parents, all of creation is brought into being.
And just like basic biology, the offspring inherit traits from both parents. That means our very existence is a deep hybrid. Every single one of us perfectly reflects the pure, eternal consciousness of the Father, Brahman, but, and this is the catch, our physical bodies, our brains, the actual machinery of our minds, those are made entirely of inert objects belonging to the mother, illusion.
We are literally a mix of eternal consciousness and ever-changing matter. Section 4. The Hurdle of the Mind.
This dual heritage is exactly what creates our core conflict. It's the grand hurdle blocking our path. Think about it. We look in the mirror, we feel our physical bodies, we listen to the nonstop chatter in our heads, and we incorrectly assume that this is all we are. Because our mind is built from the mother's inert materials, it naturally identifies with her. We become completely oblivious to our father's contribution. We suffer so deeply because we are totally blind to the pure consciousness of Brahman that actually gives us life. We are essentially trapped by the physical makeup of our own minds.
And remember, the mind we're trapped in is composed of those three elements from the mother: aura, energy, and matter. Our mind is a very precise mixture of these three. To finally perceive the real truth, to realize we are the consciousness and not just the physical stuff, the chemical composition of our mind absolutely has to change. Specifically, the aura portion of this mental makeup must become the dominating force. If energy or matter are running the show, we stay totally blind to reality.
Section 5. Dominating the three elements.
So how do we actually shift that mental balance? How do we jump this massive biological hurdle and make aura dominant? Well, we are given 6 highly practical steps. First, you have to truly understand the nature of aura, energy, and matter. Second, you observe exactly how each one secretly binds you to misery. Third, you've got to be honest with yourself and identify which element is dominating your mind right now. Fourth, learn to use each element strategically to get where you want to go. Fifth, do the work to go entirely beyond the influence of all three. And finally, step 6, you reap the ultimate advantage, which is that joyful living we've been talking about.
This kind of internal alchemy is just so critical. When our mind is sitting in the wrong proportion, when energy and matter are calling the shots, our ego gets incredibly strong. It puffs up, and we become highly vulnerable to suffering because we falsely believe we are the doer of everything. But when we hit the right proportion, where aura dominates, the whole game changes. An aura-dominant mind gives us the clarity to finally see the ego for the complete illusion it is. We can surrender it, realize we are Brahman, and entirely transcend the whole setup.
As we wrap up this explainer, we've walked through how this profound wisdom maps out the journey from a life of intense struggle to one of beautiful entertainment. We've explored the 3 paths to realizing that Atman is Brahman, and we've untangled the grand hurdle of our own mind's composition. So I want to leave you with a crucial, slightly provocative question to think about right now. Which element, aura, energy, or matter, is currently dominating your mind? Answering that honestly is your very first step toward a life of truly joyful living. Thanks for joining me on this journey.